Grab your watering can, a large shady hat, and a shovel, as we're about to take an in-depth look at the gardening skill in The Sims 4. This is one of the more complex skills in the game, and we're going to look at it in terms of the base game as well as when it's paired with impactful expansions such as Seasons and Cottage Living. There's a lot of cool things that you might not be expecting too, from cowplants to grand magic trees and even helpful scarecrows and animals. We'll get to all of it, but first let's start out with the basics. Now, there isn't necessarily a seed to match each plant. Rather, planting a type of plant, for example some sage, will see it act as a seed and grow into a sage plant. An easy way to get a few seeds/plants to get started is to use a computer and order starter seeds online, or alternatively buy starter seeds in buy mode. If you buy a gardening pot or planter box, then you can purchase seeds from these objects too. Seeds come in packs that relate to different types of plants that you can grow in your garden, such as flowers, fruits, herbs, and vegetables. And once bought, then you can click on packs to open them. Doing so will provide you with a small range of things that you can plant, and do note that more types of seed packets become available to buy at higher gardening levels, which we'll cover a little later. Another way to get your hands on some initial seeds or plants is to explore various worlds, and often you'll find bushes around the place with crops ready to harvest. Once you harvest these, then you can plant them right away. It's worth noting that plants, no matter how rare they are, can all be planted at level 1 gardening. To grow your gorgeous plant, simply place it on the ground outside and then click on it and choose to plant it. Note that if there are multiple plants on the ground, then Sims will start planting all the plants in the area that are lying on the ground, not just the single plant that you selected. Alternatively, you can buy garden pots or planter boxes, which can also have plants grown in them, and these can be placed both outside or indoors. A quick side note is that at level 2 of the handiness skill, you can use a woodworking bench to create more rustic looking garden pots and garden planters. Personally, I love how organized planters make a garden look, to the point where I'm like, growing plants straight in the ground who? But really, grow your plants wherever you like. Now once your plant is in some soil, it'll start to grow, taking anywhere from a few hours, or in most cases a few days to fully develop. While it's growing, and when it's fully grown, you'll need to care for your plant by watering, weeding, and spraying it for bugs as necessary. If you neglect a plant, then its quality will lower, and eventually it'll die, which, you know, it's not what we're here for. Once your plant is completely grown, then it will start producing harvestables that you can collect, replant, or sell for money. You can also eat many plants straight for a small hunger boost and often a happy moodlet too. It can be very questionable when your sim straight up eats a coconut, but we're just gonna go with it. Note that you can't eat everything that you grow. Like, while pretty much all fruits are edible, you can't go munching on flowers, because that would be weird. Also keep in mind that you can always move plants around from where you first planted them in buy mode. Now before we jump into gardening level unlocks, we're first going to look at some handy traits and aspirations for gardener sims. Firstly, when it comes to traits, consider loves outdoors, as this will give your sim a happy moodlet when they spend time outside, which is likely where your sim's garden will be. Similarly, making your gardener sim like the gardening skill will also provide a happy moodlet when engaging with the skill, which can be rather helpful. Also consider saving up to buy the Super Green Thumb reward trait for 4,000 satisfaction points, which will help make caring for your plants easier. The Great Soil Lot trait is also a good one to add to your lot, as it'll make plants on the lot grow a tad faster, but from testing, I think it's only about 5% faster. When it comes to aspirations, consider the Freelance Botanist, as all the tasks here are completely gardening focused. The reward trait for completing this is called Naturalist, and it basically means that your sim won't freak out when a fire breaks out, and that they can put out fires more easily than other sims, and also that they will be immune to being set alight, meaning you'll never have to worry about them dying in a fire. Another, less obvious aspiration to consider when becoming a gardener is fabulously wealthy. The entire aspiration centers around earning money and having money in reserve. And as gardening in The Sims can be very, very lucrative, this can be ridiculously easy to complete as a gardener. The reward trait here is called Shrewd, and this will see your Sims receive a 5% money deposit each week based on their household funds. Finally, if you have the Cottage Living expansion pack, then consider the Country Caretaker aspiration. Completing this grants the Nature Conversationalist trait, and one of its benefits is that it unlocks unique and often hilarious interactions with plants. Now let's turn our attention to level unlocks. Firstly, at level 2 gardening, watering plants will now affect nearby plants, making watering much easier and faster. You'll also be able to use the web section of a computer to research gardening. Doing this will provide a +2 focused moodlet for 4 hours, and being focused is the ideal mood for training gardening. A Sim who's focused will save around 25% of the usual time it takes to train the gardening skill, and if you're very focused, then this is further increased to let your Sim save around 35% of the usual time that it takes. In addition to researching on a computer, you can also click on plants that you're growing and select Research, which will register that plant and some information on it into your notebook, all while providing a little bit of gardening experience. In case you were wondering, the notebook is located next to your Sim's phone. When you reach level 3 gardening, you'll be able to fertilize plants, and this is hugely helpful and will impact on your plant's quality. Plants have 5 stages of quality, starting out as normal quality before advancing to become nice quality, excellent quality, magnificent quality, and finally, perfect quality. Each time your plant goes up a quality tier, its produce will become worth quite a lot more, and this can be up to around 45% of a plant's base sell price extra. If you use higher quality produce when cooking, then the food you make has a better chance of turning out better quality too. Now, plants produce harvestables of the same quality that they are, so a perfect quality plant will produce a perfect quality harvestable. The quality of a harvestable that you plant will carry through to the plant that grows from it, meaning having one perfect quality plant allows you to easily produce more perfect quality plants. Now to talk about fertilizers. And not all fertilizer, which comes in the form of other plants and fish, is created equally. While plants will slowly increase in quality over time, fertilizing a plant will give an immediate boost to a plant's quality. The quality boost that your plants will receive is dependent on the value of the object you use as fertilizer, but note that as long as it's worth over 50 simoleons, then you'll get the max benefit, with the second best fertilizer just needing to come from an object worth over 20 simoleons. As each plant can only be fertilized once every few days, try to avoid using lower value fertilizer if possible. If a plant's quality bar reaches the top of its current stage, then you'll need to click on a plant and select Evolve, which will officially move the plant on to the next stage. For example, from being normal to then being nice quality. Now to talk about level 4 gardening, in which reaching lets you talk to plants, and this interaction both trains up your gardening skill and replenishes your social need. I mean, why are we talking to people when we can just talk to plants? Also, weirdly relatable because I swear I talk to my houseplant sometimes. Don't judge me. Also, at level 4, when you harvest plants, you'll harvest all plants in a small area in one go, speeding up this process, which we love. When you reach level 5 gardening, you'll be able to take cuttings from plants, which you can then use to graft plants, essentially creating hybrid plants. If you want a cutting from a certain plant, simply click on it and select Take Cutting. But be warned that if you do this more than once in a row, then you can kill your plant. So be sure to do this just once a day at maximum. Once you have a cutting, then you can click on another fully grown plant and select Graft, before choosing a spliced garden shoot. This will form a spliced plant that will grow both the original plant and the type of plant you grafted onto it, which can be pretty awesome. Even more awesome is that sometimes a third type of plant will grow from these. meaning grafting plants can be used to unlock rarer kinds of plants. If you research a plant, then you'll be able to find out its grafting interactions from the notebook. Grafting can be very helpful in letting you gain access to rarer quality plants, and I'll pop some of the most helpful grafting combinations in the description. Know though that there is an even easier way to get rare plants that I'll talk about soon. At level 6 gardening, you'll be able to weed plants in a larger area. No longer will your sim get on their knees and pull out those weeds by hand. They'll now use some giant scary looking machine. We do love it though, because this turns weeding plants from a slow and tedious task into something that takes mere seconds. When you reach level 7, you'll gain the ability to spray for bugs in a larger area. While spraying plants still takes a little while, it will now affect a small area of plants in one go, significantly cutting down the amount of time you'll spend spraying. In addition to this, you'll be able to purchase more seed packets online or in buy mode. This includes uncommon plants packages for 250 simoleons each, and farmer seed packages which cost 100 simoleons each. The farmer packages for the most part give the same kinds of plants as the starter seed packages, but in much higher quantities. The uncommon plant seed packages are much more useful though, as they'll give different kinds of plants that are often worth a bit more. Overall though, they're not worth breaking the bank over. Once you hit level 8 gardening, you'll unlock the ability to supercell crops, which lets you sell crops from all plants in a large area in literally seconds. It's super handy for if you're looking to make some money. Then at level 9 gardening, you'll gain the ability to tend your garden, which is life-changing. Okay, maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but it's hugely helpful. By choosing to tend your garden, your sims will water, weed, and spray all plants for bugs depending on what they need, and you can just sit back and watch them. It's bliss, and I'm starting to think that maybe life-changing was an accurate description. Note that if your sim has the adventurous trait from the Snowy Escape expansion pack, then Tend Garden will appear as vigorously guaranteed plant life's future. Because sure, finally, we have level 10 gardening, in which reaching sees you max the skill. The main draw card here is that this will unlock rare seed packets to buy online and in buy mode. These cost a rather large 1000 simoleons, but opening each packet will give a rare plant which is hugely helpful. This includes death flowers, orchids, cowplant berries, the 6 magic beans, dragonfruit, and more. Now, dragonfruit are the best plant in the game for money making. Meanwhile, death flowers can be used to save your sims from death. After a sim dies, when the Grim Reaper appears to seal the deal, so to speak, simply have another sim give the Grim Reaper a death flower, at which point he'll reverse the death. Death flowers can also be used to create ambrosia, which if eaten by a ghost sim will turn them back into being a regular sim. And of course, we need to talk about the cowplant berry, which when planted will grow into a cowplant. You can play with cowplants, and they'll need to be fed around every 12 hours. When it needs to be fed, it'll stick out its tongue with a cake, and if your sim tries to take this, then they'll be eaten. If eaten once, then they'll be spat out with a negative moodlet, but if eaten again with the moodlet still active, then your sim will be devoured and they'll die. After a cowplant spits out or devours a sim, then they can be milked afterwards. If a sim was spat out, then milking a cowplant will provide an essence in which drinking gives a strong moodlet of whatever the sim they nibbled on was feeling at the time. If the cowplant devours and kills a sim, then you can milk the cowplant for the essence of life, in which drinking will add a bit of time onto your sim's lifespan. Like cowplants, the magic beans can be rather awesome. To make use of these, you'll want to collect all 6 from rare seed packets and place them on the magic plant sim stump object before watering it. This will see it turn into a giant and very magical looking tree, and you can venture inside and explore this tree, upon which your sim will emerge with a forbidden fruit of the plant sim. Note that the tree will close off and only periodically reopen to allow you to explore it again, and so it can help to plant this fruit so that it produces more over time. Eating the forbidden fruit of the plant sim will see your sim turn into a plant sim for 5 days, whereby they'll need lots of sunlight and they'll be able to absorb solar energy from plants to fill their hunger. This life state isn't permanent, but you can eat the fruit repeatedly to keep your sim as a plant sim if you want to. Now before moving on to look at how the Seasons expansion pack both changes and adds to the gardening skill, a few more quick things. Firstly, microscope samples. At level 2 of the logic skill, you'll be able to collect microscope samples from plants, and doing this will put a plant slide in your inventory. You can then analyze this on a ridiculously gigantic small house-sized microscope, which can provide 2 plant-themed prints from the microscope print collection. In a similarly science-themed thing to note, the U.F.O, or unidentified fruit object plant, is a very rare plant available in the base game, and you can receive this as a rare reward from space missions, which I'll have a few more details on in the description. If you have the Get to Work expansion pack, then know that there are more space-themed plants available on the alien homeworld of 6am. Now let's look at bonsai trees. You can buy these in buy mode and then choose to shape them, and doing this can be a positively fabulous way to gain gardening experience early on. Note that if you have the Seasons expansion pack, then shaping these will also provide flower arranging skill experience. Now as you level up the gardening skill, you'll be able to make more shapes, and at level 5 even choose which shape bonsai you want to make. Note that after a while, bonsai trees will grow out, upon which they can be shaped again. If you have level 8 gardening though, then you can pay 50 simoleons to instantly regrow the foliage and set it to a state to be reshaped. Now, if you get your hands on bonsai buds, which can be found in uncommon plant seed packets, then you can grow them like you would any other plant, and they will slowly produce more bonsai buds that you can harvest. Once your bonsai bush is at least excellent quality, you'll then be able to pay 25 simoleons to convert it to be decorative, and this will turn it into the bonsai tree object. It's just a neat little feature to know about. Now that we've looked at gardening in the base game, it's time to turn our attention to how having the Seasons expansion pack adds to and in some ways changes the gardening skill. The biggest impact that you're certainly going to notice if you have Seasons is that almost every plant will now grow in specific seasons. Hovering over a plant will tell you which seasons it grows in, and outside of those seasons the plant will either stay grown and stop producing harvestables, or return to a seed in the soil and just look like a small mound of dirt for a hot minute. If your plant reverts to a seed, then just know that the quality will be maintained when it eventually regrows when the season is right. When it comes to plants growing in certain seasons, you might be thinking, wow Peter, that sounds incredibly annoying. And if you're anything like me, then yes, you will find this a little bit frustrating to deal with. Thankfully, there's a way around this. If you grow your plants in pots or in planters indoors, whether it be in your bedroom or in a greenhouse style lot, then they will become sheltered. And in this state, your awesome plants will grow and produce harvestables all year round. We love it. Plants can also enter a sheltered state if they're grown under second floor balconies or overhanging floors, just in case that excites you. It is worth noting that there's a small trade-off though, being that sheltered plants will often give less produce per harvest than if the plant was outside growing in season. If you want to keep your plants outside, then I suggest grouping plants in areas based on the seasons they grow in, just to make caring for them easier. Another quick thing to note is that when it rains, this will water outdoor plants, and that you can also use sprinklers that come with the pack to water plants too. Seasons will also bring with it a range of new plants, including many flowers, and growing your own flowers can tie in really well with the flower arranging skill that comes with the pack. While it's not necessary to have flowers to make arrangements, having flowers required for an arrangement will lower its cost to make. A great way to grab some of the new plants that Seasons brings is through seasonal seed packets. These are unlocked at level 4 and 5 of the gardening skill and can be bought using a computer from planters or in buy mode, costing 100 simoleons a packet. Seasons also adds the gardening career to the game, and with it, a completely different way to play as a gardener. In this career, you can specialize as either a botanist or a floral designer, and it can just be a good way to shake up your regular home garden playstyle. Another awesome feature of the Seasons expansion pack is the introduction of Patchy the Strawman, who is the perfect gardener's assistant. When placed, at first you'll just be able to chat to Patchy, and you'll want to do this until you're friends with him, and making friends with him will also see you unlock a cute Creator Sim outfit. In addition, your friendship will unlock more socials with Patchy, including being able to check his pockets for seeds and ask for gardening tips. Asking for gardening tips provides a good chunk of gardening experience, but it also has a decent cooldown. And we're not done with the glory that is Patchy just yet. Once he's your friend, he'll randomly come to life from time to time and help you take care of your plants for you. He might also watch your TV or play on your computer too. You know, there's so many dimensions to this amazing straw man. Heck, he might even get a bit flirty, and we love him for it. In addition to the superstar that is Patchy, Seasons also adds bee boxes, which have a lot of gameplay attached to them. Firstly, as you likely expected, bees will produce honey over time, and the amount they produce depends on the season, producing more in summer and being dormant in winter. Honey can be sold or eaten to regulate your sim's temperature. But you can also befriend the bees, and once you've done this, you'll have the option to collect a swarm from the hive. This puts a bunch of bees in your inventory for around 5 hours, and you can consume the swarm to perform a few different tasks. You can have the swarm cheer you up, collect a random gift for you, and most importantly when it comes to gardening, you can ask them to pollinate nearby flowers, helping to raise their quality. In fact, just having happy bees nearby plants will help to increase their quality faster as well. Having bees in your inventory can also unlock interactions on other sims, allowing you to send them a romantic message, cheer them up, or even attack them. You know, we love that chaotic friend of the bees lifestyle. And while we're going to move away from Seasons, we're not quite done with gardening just yet, as the Cottage Living expansion pack also has a pretty big influence on the skill. Firstly, Cottage Living introduces oversized crops, which are grown on garden patches. This includes aubergines or eggplants, lettuce, mushrooms, pumpkins, and watermelons. Seeds for these can be bought online or by clicking on gardening patches. These offer a really unique gardening experience, with overgrown crops taking around a week to grow. While they do take forever to fully grow, you can thankfully provide them with fertilizers during this time to help them along. For example, the hassle-free fertilizer keeps away weeds and bugs, while vitality fertilizers boost the quality of your crops. Importantly, growth fertilizers will speed up the time that they take to grow and improve a plant's weight, which is great for chasing overgrown gardening goods. Once grown, you can harvest plants, choose to use them in canning, enter them in the Finchwick Fair, or sell them for a large once-off payment, before you then have to replant and start from scratch. Some oversized crops can even be turned into decor, just in case having a giant lettuce on display appealed to you. Cottage Living also brings with it birds and rabbits, and these are tied to the flock of wild birds and the wild rabbit home objects. You can unlock these objects for your own lot by befriending birds or rabbits in Henford-on-Bagley. Then, once placed on your farm, if you befriend the birds and rabbits, you'll be able to ask them for gardening help. Birds will help by eating away any bugs that will be bothering your plants, and they'll also help oversized crops grow by singing to them. Rabbits, on the other hand, will take care of weeds for you, and additionally enrich the soil of oversized crops. You might have thought we were done with animals and their effects on gardening, but we have one more very important thing to talk about: chickens, and in particular, golden chickens. Chickens live in and can be bought from the chicken coop objects, and if you feed a chicken a golden treat, then it will turn into a golden chicken. A good way to get a golden treat is to befriend rabbits and birds, at which point you can ask them for gifts, and sometimes this might just be the rare treat that you're after. Now golden chickens come with a very useful power. You can ask golden chickens for help, and this will see their golden pulse power come into effect. When in effect, your chicken increases the quality of objects surrounding them to be the best that they can possibly be. And this effect extends to plants too, meaning that they can give you perfect quality plants in seconds. If your golden chicken is a hen, then they will also lay golden eggs. Hatchable eggs can be incubated for more golden chickens, while non-hatchable eggs can be used in cooking. If your sim eats a dish that uses golden eggs as an ingredient, then it will give them a dazed moodlet for 3 hours, and will see some sparkles surround them. While this moodlet is active, your sims will gain the golden pulse power, which they can use to max the quality of any object, including plants. That's right, bring on perfect quality plants. It's by far the quickest way to make a plant perfect quality, and it can be so much fun to have various animals helping you out in the garden. Finally, just before finishing up, note that if you have the Realm of Magic game pack, then if a spellcaster knows the copy pasto spell, then they can use this to duplicate or copy fully grown plants of the same quality. The Herbio spell is also very useful, allowing you to essentially grow random plants from thin air, and if your spellcaster has built up their charge, then these will be of magnificent quality. And with that, we're at the end. That's a complete guide to the gardening skill. Go forth and create the garden of your dreams. If you enjoyed or found this helpful, then please subscribe and leave a like. I would really appreciate it, and have an amazing day. See you later.